Hello guys, I'm Fizzy and welcome to another race in the AOR GT3 Elite League on the PC version of Project Cars as we go straight up Rouge on our qualifying lap to start the video. This is of course the second race of the season after the previous race at Road America didn't quite go to plan for us. I mean, if you watch it you'll know that I had about 7 laps of good fun racing, but then got involved in a bit of a lag incident which flipped my car around and destroyed it completely. So I ended up scoring no points in that race. So of course going into the second race at Spa with hopes of at least getting a better result and getting some points on the board. This is only a 6th race season, of course, this first season of the GT3 League. So having a race like that without scoring any points obviously hurts quite a bit, because you only got 5 races now to get back on track and get the points that you need. So hopefully we can have some good consistent result in the next few races and yeah, like I said, get points on the board. At least I have had some more practice this time around going into this race compared to what I had for the first race, where I went into qualifying without barely any practice at all. Spa obviously being a track I know very well from F1 games and also, well, just games in general, because it is nearly on every game and it's obviously a very famous track. And I did do a couple of hours of practice before jumping into the qualifying session, which we're in right now. Currently watching my best lap from the session, and I feel like it's been a reasonably solid lap so far. I've certainly tried to push, well, as much as I'm comfortable with this car at this stage, and certainly less apexes missed than the qualifying lap for the previous race at Road America. So now coming into the bus stop chicane, which is quite tricky actually. It's really hard to spot the braking point here, and it's quite easy to lock the rear tires as well if you go a bit too heavy on the brakes, but I did it quite nicely this time. And actually this is not the start-finish straight for this track on this game, because they are using the other pit straight on the other side of this wall for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but here we go on to what here is the start-finish straight. Let's see where this lap can put us on the grid for this race. Hopefully it'll be a bit higher than the 17th I started in the first race, and I did improve my lap a bit to take P5 on the grid actually. So that is definitely a step up from the previous race, 12 positions up in fact. But Onaj Brownski and Martin van der Bent still dominant up there at the top. So we're jumping straight into the race now. Here we have the grade 20 cars starting this race. And as you can see, we have changed to a standing start after the mess of the rolling start last week. And while I did do practice for the track, I had forgotten to do practice for the standing start. And as you can see, I had a horribly slow reaction. And now I'm dropping positions to left, right and center. I must have dropped, yeah, I'm P8 now, so dropped 3 positions just from getting a poor launch off the line. At least we kept it clean up Rouge now, which with this layout is the first corner of the track. But now we got 2 wide behind us, cars all over the back of me coming down the straight. One of them has fallen off a bit, but Andrex is right on me, so I'm just gonna try to cover the inside line a little bit and hope that he doesn't try anything crazy going into this corner. And we have indeed claimed the apex, but now Poppleton is getting crossed up. We had to avoid him. Oh, it's a disaster again.
Come in. It looks like you sustained suspension damage, so we need to have a look at it.
Yeah, suspension damage apparently is what we got, and absolute disaster. That car going sideways in front of me. That is not what you want to see on the first lap. We had to avoid him, and now the car is feeling absolutely horrible. As you can see, it was very slidely, and the steering wheel isn't even facing straight when I'm driving in a straight line. So at the end of the first lap we had to go into the pit lane for repairs. Not changing any tires or anything, because it's not worth it for just 1 extra lap of wear. So sticking with the medium tires that I started the race on, with the plan to do a 1-stopper still, as was the original plan as well. But now we are 23 seconds behind the next car on the track, and by far in last place after the first lap. Really disappointing start to the race after the pace was looking good, definitely compared to last week. So now we just gotta get our head down, keep driving and just see what happens really. It is obviously a long race, 1 hour long in fact, and here we go. There's a car off the track actually on lap 6. That is Neusen, who definitely having some kind of problem, and we're actually up to P18 as 1 car also disconnected earlier in the race. I think that was actually Poppleton who disconnected, the guy that we had to avoid on the first lap. And now then, quite interestingly, at the end of lap 6, 2 cars in the pit lane, as you can see on the minimap in the top left. I'm not completely sure whether that would be because of some kind of damage, or if they are just doing a completely different strategy and doing several stops, but I wouldn't imagine they will. So after it was looking doom and gloom after the first lap, we have already started gaining some positions back up to P15 on lap 7, as there is now a car going into the wall on the grass. They're going straight on into the other wall on the other side, and oh my god, is he coming back across the track? He is indeed, and we've been pushed into the wall, and now that car is back ahead of us again, so clearly there was only some kind of lag going on. The car has now at least gone into the pit lane, so it's gotten out of our way, and there's been no reports of damage to our car, luckily, so I think we're fine to carry on. But that was a big scare and not something you want to see definitely when you're trying to turn around Blanchimont. But we are now at the end of lap 12 and going into the pit lane with several cars in here as well. As you can see, 3 cars in front of us, changing all 4 tires to another set of the medium compound. Obviously in these GT3 cars you have the softs, the mediums and the hards. The softs obviously being the faster tire, but with the wear that we are running in this league, they will not be able to last the distance. Well, they will not be able to do one stopper, while the mediums will just about. And as you can see, we did actually jump AJ in the pits because he's still stuck back there in his box. So another position gain, and we are following Pedro RC out of the pits now, as there is a car that has appeared and now is all over the place, spinning into the wall. Very interesting there, for yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna call myself an expert driver, but I'm pretty sure that is not the way you're meant to take that corner. So yeah, clearly I'm not the only car having issues in this race, and we are now up to P12 even after the pit stop, so it's actually looking decent for us to score some points now. Obviously all the way down to 16th place, score points in the race as long as you finish.
You've got some pressure from the guy behind. You'll need to brake as late as you can. You may need to cover the
pressure from the
inside
guy
line.
behind. That is Emka. I believe he was the guy who flipped us around with his lag in the first race. So luckily I've gained a bit of space on him after a couple of laps now. But Pedro has now caught up to Andrex, I believe, in one of the other McLarens in the race, who seems to be struggling quite a bit because he was a fair distance ahead, but now he obviously is a bit on the grass there and is dropping back behind Pedro, it looks like. Although he's maybe trying to hang on, as they're now side by side ahead of me on the back straights. Not too much I can really do in this situation, apart from just hope for something to happen between them to maybe give me a space to slip by. Pedro seems to have gone ahead now, and Andrex is slowing down. I think he was actually letting me through there, so he probably has some kind of damage with this car and not wanting to hold one of his many teammates up. 5 McLarens in the race, of course, or at least in the league. I'm not sure if everyone was present for this race. And Andrex does indeed go into the pit lane, so unfortunate for him, clearly has some kind of damage or something wrong there. So we are actually in P11 now, nearly past half the field since we were dead last after the first lap. And now trying to put pressure on Pedro ahead to get into the top 10, and he does seem to have made a bit of a mistake now at Les Combes on lap 16, and we have managed to slip through up to 10th place in the race. Yet another position gained from someone else's mistake, you gotta say, although he does not seem ready to give up, but we got the position for now at least, and I'm feeling pretty confident in the car at this stage. The tires have not yet started to fall off on this stint, although doing 13 laps on the medium tires with a ×7 on the tire wear is quite a task, to be honest, in this McLaren. So I'll need to be wary of that towards the end of the race, as now we got another car falling off the track for me. Thank you very much. That was Ferrari essentially gifting me that position, really, and it looks like he had a bit of a shunt with the wall as well, so might have to pit. And really it just looks like a lot of people are struggling with the consistency in this race. It's now on lap 19, going around Pujon, and there's a laggy car in the middle of the track! Whew! That was close. I mean, there was a car just flickering around the middle of the track there. I even touched it slightly. That could have been the end of my race. Actually, if I'd been just a few centimeters further to the right, that would have smashed right into the back of that car. And now Smith, he has also left the session, probably disconnected. He was ahead of me, so I've gained another position. And really, the online situation in this game is not showing itself from the best side at the moment. Clearly, some issues with lag and pit stops and everything. People crash in as well. I mean, that's probably their own fault. But yeah, I mean, lots of people having their own issues. I had mine on lap 1. Since then, it's been pretty plain sailing for me, even though there's been some close calls, I should say, with laggy cars. But we are now somehow up to P7 in the race, and with the buffer of 8 seconds to the car behind as well, which really means that I can take it easy on the final few laps when the tires are really falling off. And that's exactly what I did, getting home with a comfortable 7th place in the end. Actually, only about 5 seconds behind Canisby, who was running 6th as well. And weaving a bit there, I mean, I am very pleased actually. I mean, considering what happened on the first lap, me being in the wall, having to do a pit stop for repairs, being 23 seconds behind the next car on the track, to have finished 7th in this race, to score 17 points is just some kind of miracle, really. And I was also the last car on the lead lap, in fact, so luckily for me, I guess. The laps are long here, but Onage won the race ahead of Brownski. Those two guys were reversing their positions from the first race, but Onage leading the championship by 2 points due to getting the pole position points in both of the races, with Martin van der Bent getting a double 3rd place so far. And yeah, I'll move up to 11th place with that 7th place, so not too bad really. I mean, considering the struggles that we've been having, and yeah, just so much weird stuff going on, you gotta say. This has given me at least a decent haul of points to get off the mark, which I can use as a base to push forward in the coming races. And in the constructors, McLaren passing a Ruff for 3rd place. My points actually counting towards the McLaren in this race. As mentioned last time, the top 2 drivers within East Constructors score points in each of the races, and I was the 2nd McLaren on the road for this race at Spa, so my points did count. And yeah, that's it really for this race. I mean, very mixed feelings, lots of ups and downs. I mean, most of the overtakes I did was due to people making mistakes or disconnecting or having trouble with their pit stops or whatever. But considering I had a huge crash of my own, I'll gladly take that. But let's hope for a bit more normal circumstances in the next race at Watkins Glen. That should be quite interesting. That's a track I am quite fond of from iRacing, so looking forward to try the Project Cars version of that track, and with these GT3 cars that are a lot of fun to drive. So hopefully you'll join me for some more weird stuff in the next race at Watkins Glen. I'll see you then.